nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Roll call.
Nikki?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Phillips?
Here.
Mike Bradford?
Here.
John Bradford? Page?
Here.
Lemmings?
Here.
Bass?
Here.
Thank you. On the agenda, we have a lot of changes, so I'm going to voice vote each individual change, and then at the end, we'll roll call all the changes in one lump vote. First of all, we have an additional ordinance that was a personnel policy issue sponsored by Mary Phillips that wasn't included on the original agenda. Do I hear a motion to include that tonight?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to include Mary's ordinance on tonight's agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would also entertain a motion that we conduct the business of the tax levy ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to do the tax levy ordinance by title only. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an additional ordinance that was sponsored by Becky Page. We received some grant funds for 2 different cities. Do I hear a motion to entertain that ordinance at this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to entertain Becky's ordinance for grant funds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have one more. There was an additional ordinance for an appropriation sponsored by Sarah Brown for the Sheriff's Office. I would entertain a motion to put that on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is that not in the packet?
It was not included on the original agenda.
There's an email.
It was emailed, but it wasn't on the agenda. So, want to be clean and do it right.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we have all of these changes and all these additions into one big new agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mike Bradford?
Yes.
John Bradford? Page?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and financials?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes and financials. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? County judges' comments. First of all, welcome Bailey, and Bailey's at the table. In our tradition, once someone has, we know they're going to be sitting at the table in the next term, they come, they join in, they can ask questions, they can do everything but vote. And in January, you can be a voter. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions or what, you're one of us, so just ask away.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I'm going to let a couple of committee chairs speak, but before they do, I just want to acknowledge the very hard work that the Budget Committee has put in. They have put in a lot of hours at the meetings to be fiscally responsible, so they were very productive, and I don't think they're going to have to meet anymore. And the budget is going to be presented at the December meeting, and it is complete. And that is a monumental feat. I don't think it's ever happened in November, to my knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
Can I say, we have the best leader. Yes.
Absolutely.
Y'all just flatter me. You're not right, but that's sweet. Thank you.
Very job well done by everyone, and I'm sure when we pass the ordinance next month, I'll have a lot more to say about it. But thank you guys. Thank you so much. Committees to address the court. Nikki, would you like to tell them more about the budget?
So we had our 4th meeting of the Budget Committee on Tuesday night, and I think we have made decisions on everything. We are waiting to do a final review of the numbers. I am so appreciative because I feel like the budget it takes the committee working together, and it takes all the departments. I mean, it is very much a community effort. And so I'm encouraged on how it went this year. Do I wish we had more money coming into the county? 1,000%. But I'm optimistic that we are moving toward being able to be a little proactive instead of reactive. So some of the things that we did in this cycle, they might not show, kind of like what we talked about, like this being a flat budget year. That was a 2-year thing that we were working on. We followed through with that. We made some hard decisions this time that hopefully we're going to see those benefits a year or two down the road. And if we see the benefits that we might, it's starting to change things. And our revenue projection was up a little bit this year, which was good news. And so if those things keep stacking up, I'm hoping that that's going to be good for everyone, employees of the county and people in the county. So I'm optimistic. I want to thank everybody on the committee. And just all the elected officials for coming and sitting through those meetings. I'm just so proud of how we all work together. And so we hope to bring that. It will be at the December meeting. We'll have that put together, and hopefully it'll pass the full court.
Excellent. And there was some movement on personnel this month, and we didn't have to have a personnel meeting. So, Mary, would you like to discuss a personnel issue, or would you like to wait until the ordinance?
Actually, we can wait, but I was approached by Ethan. They needed to receive some grant money or put in for a grant, but they had to have certain wording in the personnel policy. So contacted Carol and we made magic. Yeah.
It was a really quick and easy fix, and we didn't have to, again, being fiscally responsible, we didn't have to get together and have another meeting and waste taxpayer money just to stamp something.
Right.
So thank you. Any more discussion from any committee chairs? So do you, elected officials, would any of you like to address the court? Or court, do you have any questions for department heads or elected officials? Sheriff.
Kind of squeeze this in at the last moment, apologize. During our inspection at the jail.
Right over there. We're doing that just for
During
broadcast. So
gotcha.
We've got a camera on.
During our inspection at the jail, something that was brought up by jail standards, there's a review office that was requesting that we put together some type of an action plan for maintaining our jail, the population, safety of the inmates, et cetera, et cetera. I believe this, y'all may have already done this about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe during a previous administrations, but it's pretty much a repeat. And what I handed out is just a guideline. It's not my personal request. It's basically what they were asking and putting in a guideline, maybe having y'all put together some type of a committee. So that's all that I'm bringing to you. So I'd love for y'all to look that over when you have time, and at another point we'll all sit down and talk about it. Any questions?
No, but I'll make a comment. We have the safety committee, and we handled, in the years past,
Yep.
it was, things from the jail came through the safety committee.
That's pretty much it. So if we have a committee, that'd be great. We just refer it to the safety committee. Sure. Also on the top, I did write our capacity's 54. We're currently at 58. When they did the inspection, we were averaging 70 and 80. We were so overpopulated, they were wanting us to reduce our population. We've worked hard at doing that, and I think we've gotten pretty close. So it fluctuates day to day. So we do the best we can to manage our population. So, no questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any others? That's going to move us on to new business, and our first ordinance is sponsored by Nikki Brown.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to increase revenues and appropriate $43,000 into the Solid Waste Budget Fund 3009-700-9999. Whereas actual revenues have been above projections, and whereas there is a need to appropriate the funds. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the sum of $43,000 be appropriated into the Solid Waste Budget Fund Number 3009-700-9999, transfer out. I move that we adopt as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-44.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Mike Bradford, and as you guys have already voted, it will be by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, emergency ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance levying and approving the collection for the year 2024, the various property taxes heretofore imposed in Van Buren County. I move we adopt it as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance, and I will start with discussion. First of all, we have the obligation of passing a tax levy either at the November or the December meeting for the following year. By our rules, if an ordinance is read 3 times, we're either going to have to suspend the rules and get it all done in its timely manner, or we're going to throw an emergency clause on it. So the emergency clause is a really clean way to do this. The reason we did this by title only is because there is absolutely no change except for a reduction in the request of voluntary tax when you guys voted to remove the recycle tax. So, any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Yes.
Bass. O 2024-45.
Okay, and with all emergency clauses, I like to acknowledge those with a voice vote. I think you just heard a good explanation of why we threw the emergency clause on there. Any questions about the emergency clause? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge that emergency clause? A motion and a second to acknowledge that emergency clause. Any further questions or discussions? All in favor of acknowledging it, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next ordinance is sponsored by Nikki Brown. We're just moving right along with these.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to redefine the purpose for expenditures from the American Rescue Plan Fund, the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, and to declare an emergency and for other purposes. Whereas the Budget Committee voted to spend all remaining funds in the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund and the American Rescue Plan Act before the end of 2024. And whereas the Budget Committee agreed to apply all remaining LATCF and ARPA funds to pay for the roof repair at the Van Buren County North Annex to fix the roof over the Children's Advocacy Alliance Center. And whereas funding from the LATCF and ARPA funds had previously been appropriated for projects which came in under their budgeted amounts, leaving excess funds available. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that all funds remaining in the LATCF and ARPA funds shall be spent out before the end of the year 2024. 2. Funds shall apply toward the payment of roof repair at the Van Buren County North Annex. 3. All previously approved projects for the LATCF and ARPA funds shall be considered hereby complete. 4. All remaining funds shall be moved into the appropriate line items by county court order. Emergency clause. It is imperative for county operations to continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Therefore, this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in force and take effect upon passage. I move that we adopt as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a host of seconds to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
Is this going to be enough to cover the roof? I know we've been talking about that for a couple of months now.
Not quite, but it'll clean up those funds. The remainder will come out of maintenance. And I probably should have let Nikki answer that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Well, one reason that we want to clear out all those funds is there's audit requirements. So if we go into another year, I mean, some of those are pretty pricey audits. So we wanted to get that all cleaned out. I think probably it'll pay 3/4 of repairing that section of the roof. It's probably going to be about, we don't know the exact number because there's some cleanup to do, but we had several projects that just came in under budget. So I think the bid for that was $31,000. So
For the roof.
for the roof, for that part. And so whatever excess is going to go to that, and then the rest will just come out of maintenance. Because we needed it, if we had put it in the budget, then that would have rolled it to the next year and we'd had to pay an audit and lost most of it just paying an audit fee, so.
I think I must say that it's been fun with that ARPA money. We did a lot of good things. Yeah,
You did a lot of things that we can put our finger on for years to come.
absolutely.
You bet. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page, Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-46.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by John Bradford, and since he isn't here, Mary, would you care to catch that for him?
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to transfer funds with the Van Buren County 911 Fund 3020-0501. Whereas funds have already been appropriated but need to be distributed among other line items to be able to pay expenses. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the amount of $20,000 shall be transferred from salaries part-time, line item 3020-0501-1002, to line number 3020-0501-3071, machinery and equipment. I move that we accept this.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page, Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-47.
Thank you. Virgil, you have the next ordinance.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, and to appropriate $19,767.76 into the Sheriff's Department budget number 1000-400. Whereas the Van Buren County, I guess that's county, supposed to be county, received an insurance total loss payment for a 2020 Dodge Ram 1500 from the Association of Arkansas Counties. Now therefore be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, the amount of $19,767.76 be appropriated into the sheriff budget number 1400-4005 vehicles. I move that we approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-48.
Moving right along. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Mary Phillips.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to amend the Van Buren County personnel policy, whereas all county employees are bound by the terms and policies in the county handbook, whereas the sheriff's office wants to apply for a federal or state grant that requires certain language in the county handbook to be in place prior to being awarded the grant, whereas a grant award would be beneficial to the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, the Quorum Court finds that the immediate implementation of this ordinance is necessary to address the needs and concerns of its employees governed by the policy. Section 2, this ordinance being necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare, it is therefore declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance shall be in full force and in effect from and after its passage. Section 3, the county clerk is hereby ordered to update personnel policy with these changes, including on the county website as follows. Under number 3, county employment policies, create a subsection M to be entitled Grant Provisions, which shall state, in the event that the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department shall be the recipient of any selected traffic enforcement programs, STEP, grant work, funding, or any other federal or state grant funding, the recipient shall be reimbursed for officers working selective traffic enforcement at a rate that does not exceed time and a half the officer's regular hourly rate. I move we adopt this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mike Bradford?
Yes.
John Bradford? Page?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
O 2024-49.
There was an
You're going to say.
There was an emergency clause on this ordinance. The reason for this emergency clause was the immediacy of the change. So we can get that grant applied for to make that change effective upon passage. Do I hear a motion to accept or to acknowledge that emergency clause?
Was it actually, is it actually on here?
Yes,
Is it
it's
me?
on
Okay,
section
okay, that's, okay, good, okay. Second, sorry. I'm just
So we have a
making
motion
sure I
and a
didn't see it at the
second.
end like I usually see it.
And then discussion, the overlap motion and discuss, a second. But any further discussion? All in favor of acknowledging the emergency clause signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Becky Page.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number 2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $14,190.97 into the various county projects budget number 1000-804. Whereas a grant has been awarded to the Allred community by the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, Division of Rural Services, in the amount of $7,000.00. And whereas a grant has also been awarded to the Scotland community by the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, Division of Rural Service, in the amount of $7,190.97. As whereas these grant funds need to be appropriated as follows. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $7,000.00, be appropriated into 1,804-3107 for the Allred community, and Section 2, $7,190.97 be appropriated into 1,000-804-3111 for the Scotland community, totaling $14,190.97. I move we approve this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? This was quite a surprise that we would have two communities in our county, the same county, receive these scholarships that are so these grants that are so competitive. So, very happy.
Who wrote the grant for them? Do you know?
White River, Mitzi. Yep.
Somebody's good at it. I'm trying to say. I think
You're
that'd
right,
be-
some more, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Do we know? I know that Scotland needed some more repairs done on the equipment. Do we know what all is that from the park there? Or
Roof
On the
on
roof.
a building.
Okay.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. Any further questions or comments or discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips, Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-50.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Sarah Brown.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024 to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $8,638.29 into the Sheriff's Department budget, line item 1000-400. Whereas the Sheriff's Office has been reimbursed by the Fairfield Bay PD for the training and armor of an officer who has been transferred from the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office to the Fairfield Bay PD, and whereas the funds will need to be appropriated into the Sheriff's Office budget. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $8,638.29 be appropriated into the Sheriff's Office budget, line item 1000-400-1001, salaries, full-time. Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford, Page, Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-51.
Thank you. And I'm going to put our county attorney on the spot since John Bradford is not here. Our next item on the agenda is a resolution. Would you care to read that? And by our procedural ordinance, resolutions are by title only.
Oh, sure. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution authorizing the county judge of Van Buren County to enter into an agreement with McClellan Consulting Engineers Incorporated of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion and a second to approve. For a little bit of discussion, this went through the procurement process, and this resolution is required for the grant on Euler Road. We had to have an engineer. And, yeah. Any discussion? All in favor of adopting this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
R 2024-13.
Thank you. That basically ends our old and new business. Is there any public comments? Would anyone like to address the court for any reason at all? You get 3 minutes. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion and a second to adjourn. Any opposed? Thank you.